All right, so we're in Illustrator. We are playing around, figuring out how we can use Illustrator tools directly to make images. They work really well for symmetry and perfect precision, as we've seen here. What's nice is also each time I make a path and I close a path, it automatically saves it as its own asset here. And I can then just as easily, just like layers in Photoshop, turn them off and turn them on. It really doesn't make any sense to erase things in Illustrator when you can just turn them on or off. In fact, I can just hide that whole layer if I want to. And if I need to move paths into different layers, for instance, this is its own path. It was all drawn with one. I can create a new layer, and I can move that path into it to organize it. Turn all of that off, and now this path is easily selected with the large selection tool, the black arrow, and moved. But then if I left one behind, like this, that oval that's part of it, because that's a separate path, I'll move that up and into the layer above. And one of the big issues with Illustrator is how do you choose which path you're working on? Well, you'll see each layer you create will outline with a different color. So now I'm on layer 3 and it's outlined in green, but over here it outlines in red, that's layer 2. Over here I have it locked, but if I didn't have it locked it would outline in blue, and that's layer 1. Okay, so the other beauty of organizing in layers is you can lock them so that you can't accidentally select them, and that makes it much easier, and you can hide them. Okay, now because the only layer that's not locked is layer 3, now it's very easy to select and alter these things. So I've got a perfect shape tool oval here with the large selection tool. It's like a transform tool. I can alter it a little bit, or just like the shape tools within Photoshop that we've played with. I can rotate it, I can scale it, and if I wanted to keep its proportions, I hold down Shift as I scale it. But now I'm going to teach you how you can cut shapes out. So this is basically a cutout of a black oval. This is basically a cutout I made of black paper. You see it has to be all one contiguous path. You see how there's the opening there? Because otherwise, if these were connected, I wouldn't be able to have this cutout. So how do you cut out of this? So for instance, if I'm trying to match my raster design that I vectorized, how can I cut out the E? Well, let's make a new layer to make this really easy to control. So layer 4 is going to be a dark blue. I'm going to lock the green layer. And then I'm simply going to use my pencil tool, my favorite. I could also use the pen tool, but I like the pencil tool, to draw the white shape that I want to cut out from this. So I'm drawing the negative space. And for those of you playing with positive and negative space in your logos, this is a technique you'll likely want to do. And I want the white to go all the way to the edge, so I cut it out like that. Remember, it looks really sensitive as I'm drawing, but being Illustrator, as soon as I close it and let go, it's going to simplify my drawing into a clean vector. Now I want to fill that with white, so I'm going to double click on this fill square, and I like to say only web colors in Illustrator, so it's easy to like chunk and choose a pure white, and I fill it with white. So now I have a white paper cutout on top of a black paper cutout. Now the problem with that is that if I put this isn't a black on white logo. This is a black and white logo, right? So to show you what I mean, let me unlock these. Let me move them all together onto this gray background. And that's not what I'm after. So what I want to show you is how to cut that shape out of that black shape, so it's all one clean logo. And that's another kind of professional skill of Illustrator. And we use what's called the Pathfinder window for that. So I have two layers now that are making up the image I want. I have this white layer on top which is layer 4, and this black layer underneath, layer 3. So I have them both unlocked, and then I'm going to use my magic or my large selection tool and draw a box to select all of it. Right? The reason it's not selecting this as well, even though I touched it, is because that layer is locked. Now both of those layers are selected, and you can see them here, indicating they're selected. Now I go up to Window, and I find the Pathfinder tool. And I do not know why it's called Pathfinder. But what it does is it can merge vector paths together into one path. It can exclude them. It can cut them out. So this one would combine them together, which wouldn't help me at all because it would just add a little bump to the black oval, right? I don't want to add material, I want to take away. So I'm looking at this one, which is the exclude option. And with both of them selected and overlapping, I can click that and exclude it. And now anything that's overlapping is going to cancel itself out. Right now it's filled with white. I'm going to double click and fill it with black. Okay, and then I deselect by clicking off of it. And notice the exclude, it doesn't always do what you think it will do, but it always makes sense. It made that black because that wasn't a place where my white shape was overlapping. But now it's all in one group, one clean shape. And the only thing that's unusual is this little thing off to the edge that I can just turn off because I don't want it. Now when I select that one layer, layer 3 now doesn't matter anymore. Pathfinder moved everything onto one layer, and if I move it over here on the gray, you can see that it's all cut out of paper now. All cleanly cut out. Okay, now how can I use that with the leaf to connect it? Well, this is where I'm going to use Pathfinder to combine. So I'm going to create a new layer on top, just so you can see it clearly. I'll lock the one underneath. This will be layer 5. It's in yellow. And I draw the shape I want to connect. So maybe I want the leaf to look like this. So let's draw a big shape that overlaps. I'm going to fill it with black. And that's what I want to see. And I can redraw it if I want. Remember, the pencil tool is like magic scissors that can add material. But now to merge them, I have to select them both. This time I'll just hold down Shift and select here. This is another way you can select multiple layers. And now I'm going to use Pathfinder, Window, Pathfinder. You can see it there on the bottom of the shortcuts. And instead of excluding it, I'm going to merge them, unite. And now they're all one layer. Which is nice because now I have this complicated cutout inside the leaf that I can alter just by redrawing it, making it exactly what I want. Remember, we're going for logos that are black on white, not a combination of grays or a combination of black and white. And that's going to show me you can really understand kind of the graphic power of this tool. Now it doesn't all have to be one clean cutout. You can have what are called undercuts, or you can have little floating shapes. But for a logo to really have graphic power, everything needs to be visible in all scales. So doing really fine details doesn't really help you that much. So I'm trying to suggest a tree in this. Give it a little bit of dynamic tilt. And remember to redraw, I'm having trouble there, you can always zoom in. You have to go through an anchor point with your pencil in order to redraw it instead of just making a new shape. And then end through an anchor point and it will redraw. And you can double click it and tell it how smooth or how accurate to your strokes you want it to be. And then if it's not smooth enough, you can always use the smooth tool, which is underneath the pencil, to try to simplify it after the fact. I tend to just redraw it though. Now, I am not just looking at the shapes of the white, I'm also looking at the positive space of this black leaf, and that those shapes are interesting and engaging. And that's what will make a stronger logo design. Let's see. And not all of us have the steadiest hands. Not all of us have a lot of training doing graphic painting and letter form design or sign painting or doing pinstriping on cars. And that's kind of where Illustrator comes in. It can imitate that smoothness for us. It can give us that skill. Because if we don't like the way we do it by hand, we can use that smooth tool and we can recut it. Now, why Earth Day can be a nice opportunity for graphics is because there's so many graphic shapes in nature that are kind of mashups. And I'll be playing with this probably with my Earth Day themed illustration demo, which will be the next thing I do after spring break. Playing with the similarity between branches and antlers in our natural world. So as I'm playing with these, I'm also seeing how they're a little bit antler-like and getting other ideas. Okay. So I like that. I can also redraw the outside of the leaf shape using my pencil tool and try to really control that negative space. And if I want to undo it, I hit Command Z, or if I want to redo what I just did, I hit Shift Command Z. And yes, that's an improvement. Okay, what else do I need if I'm going for this slightly cleaner version of my sketch? I like that. I do want some of this funkiness. So how can I get that and safely? Well, I'm going to lock my yellow layer. Because I merged them, I actually have nothing on layer 3 or layer 4 anymore, so I can get rid of those. And now I'll make a new layer. And I'll draw some shapes that might serve as these highlights. It's just to finish off my black and white logo and fill them with white. Remember, and then I'll use the Pathfinder to merge them together. Informed by my sketch, but using kind of the smooth drawing of Illustrator. So you'll notice as I do them, it wants them to be whatever I last did. But every once in a while, if you click somewhere else, it will just be an empty path, but it will remember the last fill color you used down in these shortcuts. These are shortcuts for filling with a fill color, filling with a gradient, or not filling at all. And so I'm working on my sketch and I'm imitating that. But the difference is, from something that's raster based, or even something that was all live traced and is just one shape, here I can alter each of these individually until I merge them. I don't know if I managed to fill that. Let's see. Yes, I did. Good. And I don't like to zoom in too much with Illustrator, because I like to look at the whole picture. Remember, logos have to work on large and small scale.